2026 electoral battle down. For us is Dr. Madiha Afzal. She's a fellow of foreign policy program at Brookings. She's speaking to us now from Washington, D.C. Dr. Afzal, Pakistan, we know that has had polls of dubious credibility in the past, but now given reports of pre-poll rigging, how do you expect it's going to be this time around? Is the result of the election a foregone conclusion?
Well, in the run-up to the election, we've essentially seen the lack of a level playing field, such as this kind of uneven playing field we also saw in previous elections, in particular in the 2018 election when it was tilted in favor of Imran Khan. At that point, Nawaz Sharif was disqualified from running. We see the opposite this time around. And so Nawaz Sharif, who had his disqualification for life overturned just last month, is widely tipped to be the winner. Imran Khan, of course, is in jail, convicted in multiple cases. And his party is actually not technically on the ballot. Independent candidates affiliated with his party are running, but a Supreme Court decision knocked out his party symbol off the ballot. That's the bat. And the party name is not on the ballot either. And so that really is, makes it very difficult for voters to actually identify in their specific constituencies who belongs to that party. And so those barriers all have stacked the deck against Khan's party and in favor of Nawaz Sharif's party. At the same time, the big question mark, the wild card, if you will, is if PTI voters, that's Imran Khan's party's voters, who are still mobilized and have made an assiduous attempt behind the scenes. This is through, using technology, using AI to try to mobilize voters, if they can actually bring out the vote enough so that independent candidates affiliated with the PTI can make a strong showing. Again, it would be basically a miracle if this happened, because history in Pakistan dictates that it is Nawaz Sharif who will become the prime minister this time around, given the weight of Pakistan's military establishment behind him.
That said, though, Dr. Afzal, I mean, it sounds as though it's not going to be a fair vote, but is it going to be a free vote? Meaning, voters, Pakistani citizens can actually go out there and vote as they see fit and choose the person they actually want.
Well, I think, so we've seen the pre-poll manipulation, as I've laid out, but what happens tomorrow? What happens on voting day? That is still a question. So A, are we going to see a huge turnout? But B, when people turn out, are they going to be able to vote for the candidate, despite the fact that, there are barriers and the ballot is quite confusing in various constituencies, but are voters going to be able to vote for their candidates? So is there, a crackdown that we might see against certain voters or voters belonging to a specific party or a specific demographic? That's still a question mark. Are there going to be any attempts at actual ballot stuffing on election day? Those are the questions still to be answered. And I think we will see what happens tomorrow. There are election observation missions that have been allowed into the country. And there were fears of, for instance, the internet being disrupted, which would cause problems for voters. But the Pakistani authorities have assured the public that the internet, will not see a disruption tomorrow. It has, though, seen disruptions in recent weeks, coinciding again with virtual events and virtual rallies that Imran Khan's party was attempting to hold.
Doctor, given the recent outbreaks of violence in the run-up to the election, will the election bring some stability to the country, or do you fear further escalation of tensions post-election?
Right. I mean, Pakistan has seen so much political turmoil leading up to this election for the last 2 years that, one would have hoped that a free and fair election with, a candidate emerging with a strong mandate would have actually brought stability to the country. But because this election, as it is set up, is already not free nor fair, one worries that essentially whoever will be the winner, and in this case, the expectation is that Nawaz Sharif will be the winner, will be a weak a weak winner. So, he may cobble together a coalition government without a strong mandate. And that is not a recipe for stability because, a weakly elected leader is not going to be able to unite the country. At the same time, what is needed for Pakistan's stability is a prime minister who manages to have a good relationship with its military. Nawaz Sharif, of course, has been prime minister 3 times previously and never finished a term in office because of falling out that he had with Pakistan's military every time he was in power. This is, of course, the same as every other prime minister in Pakistan. No prime minister has ever finished a full 5-year term of office. But we don't really expect anything to be different this time around.
So I want to pick up on that point. The Pakistan military, as you just mentioned, holding sway, and it's done so for a long time now. But the New York Times has come out to say, look, citizens in places like Punjab province, other places as well, are fed up. I mean, fed up enough, to go out there and vote, for a party other than the one, where whom Nawaz Sharif is heading, and possibly, bring in someone like Bilawal Bhutto as well, perhaps, in a coalition that you just talked about?
Right. We're not talking about the PPP, the Pakistan People's Party, the third party here that Bilawal Bhutto heads. The PPP has become largely relegated to the Sindh province, which is the second largest province in Pakistan. But winning Sindh alone is not enough to win a majority of votes in Pakistan. And so, the other question in this election is, will Bilawal be able to mobilize enough voters to make the PPP a national level party again? My bet would be against it. The PPP may get more votes this time around than it did in 2018. But my bet would be that this is really a contest in some ways, and this is in people's minds a contest between the PTI and the PMLN. The question, I think, is, yes, people are fed up. Will they turn out to vote, or do they think that their vote does not matter? And so if voter turnout is low because of the perception that the result of the election is already a foregone conclusion, then we might see a case where people are fed up enough, but not enough to turn out to vote. And we see, for instance, PMLN winning. On the other hand, if enough people do turn out, and again, this is a big if they're able to correctly identify the candidates that are affiliated with the PTI, who are showing up as independent candidates on the ballot, what happens if, in the sort of the miracle scenario for PTI, enough votes are garnered by PTI candidates who are, currently affiliated as independent to win? There will, I think, still be hurdles, given the way things are going, still be hurdles to the PTI-affiliated independents forming a government because there might be legal battles there, etc. So we might see, even if the election result is a surprise, some kind of long, drawn-out kind of legal battle as to who is able to cobble together a majority in order to form government in Parliament.
And Doctor, we have about a minute on the clock right now, but very briefly, the vote obviously comes as Pakistan faces mounting challenges. We're talking economic uncertainty, frequent militant attacks, to climate catastrophes. What should be the top priority for this newly elected party to address?
The top priority should be the economy. Citizens are dealing with soaring inflation, and that is foremost on their minds. And I think security, of course, a close second priority. And whoever comes into power will have to deal with it, whether they're equipped to or not.
Dr. Madiha, thank you very much. Dr. Madiha Afzal is fellow at the Foreign Policy Program at Brookings. Thank you so much.